global focal point for the GCOM Gap Fund partnership within the Global Covenants of Mayors. We are very happy today to be here discussing how we can support cities in funding and in financing their climate, their energy transition. Today we have a very special panel with two different phases. Let's say we will hear from experts first, and then we will have some representatives debating and commenting on what has been discussed. We will have presentations in English and also in Turkish. So please, if you haven't your simultaneous translation headphones, just please feel free to take one outside. And let's get right to it. I'm going to invite my dear colleague Daiva Matonienė, project leader for Turkey on the CPMA. Daiva has 22 years of experience in sustainable environmental and climate change and public finance management. Matonienė was appointed the ambassador of the Covenant of Mayors initiative and has experience with sustainable energy and climate policies development. She's a former deputy mayor responsible for public finance and environmental management, as well as former deputy minister of environment, both in Lithuania. She's a leading EU for energy transition project here in Turkey. Thank you so much for joining, Daiva. The floor is yours.
Merhaba, dear colleagues and gentlemen, and ladies. Thank you very much for coming today. This session is the second session we had yesterday, the first together with GEZ, EU for Energy Transition, Western Balkans and Turkey, together with close cooperation with Marmara Municipality Union. We are organizing to talk not how to develop CCAPs, but sustainable energy climate action plans, but also today we will discuss how to get more finance, what is very important, and we always listen how to implement some concrete activities. I read one research, new research, that 97% scientists agreed that climate change is related from the human activities. It is really a huge deal, like we can see maybe some cycles, like we can believe, not believe, but indeed it is visible that climate change and energy transition is very important topic, and your every personal activity is very important. Today we have very unique session. In the first beginning we have very professional experts that came from Denmark, from Turkey, and from Slovenia. In the second part we have very interesting representatives from GEZ, from NALAS, from Central Project Management Agency, and we will discuss how these innovation solutions can be funded, how to get more finance due to implementation concrete actions. As one famous actor said, that indeed actions only can be main goal for success, only if we can go to the implementation our all strategic documents. No way, we need to act. We need to be carefully in the implementation our sustainable energy climate action plans. So, dear colleagues, I would like to say, I not said in the beginning, I now come back for EU for Energy Transition on Western Balkans and Turkey project. I would like to say that this project is co-financed by European Union and German governance together. And you can see booklet, we would like to be sustainable. We not would like to print many paper. And we would like that you scan this code, as you see here. And you will see 2 years our project development. You get some information, some tips, some practical experiences, success, and so on. So I wish good meeting, I wish good discussion, I wish that this event will bring you to act. It is the most important thing. So, good meeting today.
Thank you so much, Daiva, for this introduction. We want to go dive directly into our experts, and the first one I'm very happy to invite Michael Rosenberg Pedersen. He's the head of the drinking water department in Aarhus in Denmark. Rosenberg Pedersen has a background in hydrology and have for the last 30 years been working professionally with different aspects of groundwater mapping, protection and remediation in water supply in Denmark and globally. Michael, we know that Denmark aims to reduce water consumption by 20% by 2025. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing in Aarhus and how are you working with innovative funding models to create more water efficiency and resilience? And how can cities also learn from this model in large scale? How can they fund large scale infrastructure upgrades that are needed for climate resilience? The floor is yours. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. I have a very short time, so I'll focus on energy and what we have done in Denmark. And I'm at a water utility in one of the cities that is one of the 100 cities that are appointed to be climate neutral in 2030. So energy is a huge part of that, so just bear that in mind. I will talk about water utilities, and usually water utilities use a lot of energy. And we would like to change that and maybe become energy producers instead of that, and how we do it and why, and also some of the drivers. So if you look at a city, water is a crucial infrastructure. It supports agriculture's livability, all kinds of infrastructure and health and whatnot. So we need water, but water and water utilities has also historically been one of the largest energy consumer in a city. So if we look into what we are doing, and this is a Danish model, so in Denmark we use groundwater, but it could be also surface water. We use energy in the pumps and the infrastructure. We use energy when we are treating water. We use maybe chemicals. We also use water when we distribute it, or power when we distribute the water to the consumers out in the city. And we use a lot of water on the wastewater side as well, and before we clean it and get it back into nature. We have been working on generating biogas and producing energy, but it would be so nice if we could produce so much that we were energy neutral. And that's our game and our goal. So how do we do it? So we know that we are using energy, but if we are looking into more efficient ways in the whole supply chain, so to speak, we can reduce the energy consumption throughout our system. We can work with pressure management, and a very crucial thing is also reducing the non-revenue water. So that means the water that we are not getting paid for, or that we lose due to leaks. In other words, we want to make sure that if we put energy and money and resources into our production, we would like to get paid for it. On the wastewater treatment, we also tend to have more efficient pumps and energy-saving motors and engines, and use drives and whatever to optimize our operation. And then on the biogas part of it, we optimize our processes so we can generate more gas, we can generate more power, we can generate more heat. We have a district heating system in Denmark. So all in all, now you can see we don't need that much to go energy neutral, and that's what we're working on. If we look at some of the results since the 1990s, we've been reducing our carbon footprint or emission by 75% plus. And also, if we look at the energy or the net energy consumption, it has also been reduced. And as you can see at the end of the curve, it is 2030, and we have promised the city that we will go energy neutral and support their goal to become climate neutral by 2030. So again, what is important when you're doing a transition like this? It is of course important that we have a vision and a strategic focus from the water utility. And we also have a purpose-driven organization, and we have a workforce that knows how to use new technologies. Automation is also a crucial part of it. If we can measure things, then we can better control it. And we have learned a lot from that, so maybe 70% of our optimizations are due to automation and not more concrete, so doing things a little smarter. And also finances. Well, cost of ownership on all our investments, and ownership, power supply is a huge thing of the ownership. And return of investments, if you look at only money, then you might not do a project, but if you also look at the climate footprint and whatever, then maybe a new project could be a feasible way of going. And then we are doing a lot of other things. We are doing blue-green infrastructure, we are doing natural solutions, we are using rainwater and new water types and stuff like that as well. So the drivers started out to be the government, so regulations, and since the 80s you can see the water consumption in Denmark has been dropping. And there's a lot of reasons why. And one of them is also pricing. So what are the real actual price of water? So Danish water utilities today are companies with their own finances. We don't get any funding. We need to make sure that we can handle operation and investments from the money that we get, and we are benchmarked. All the larger utilities are benchmarked against each other. We learn from the best to get more and more efficient. So basically we have no funding because we know this is good business. But it's only good business when the price of water is the right one. And then if you have funding, it can work as a catalyst, so you have a leap in technology, but you need to have all these things. You need to have the organization, the management, the workforce development, everybody ready to do what the new technologies, sorry, that was late, I'll start over. No. And then another thing is also looking out globally. That's why I'm here, learning from each other. We're also part of the 100 cities, like Istanbul. So this is what we're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. We heard from the public utility and how innovation is in the core of everything that we do, and how when we think of like what is the climate focus of your project, sometimes it's about innovation serving a greater good. So congratulations on, and I hope we can get inspired and bring this opportunity for other cities as well. Let's go now to the private sector. So I'm going to invite Mr. Arkın Konak, Regional Marketing Executive from VERİMDER in Turkey. Konak has 17 years experience in sales and regional marketing, in addition to his duties in many non-governmental organizations. He continues to work as the General Secretary of VERİMDER, Energy Efficiency Association in Buildings, where he's a founding board member. Arkın, thank you so much for joining. Can you speak a little bit about the role of collaboration between local governments and the private sector in funding this energy transition? Thank you.
Let me speak Turkish. Would you mind?
Let me put it this way. Actually, in my presentation, I'm going to touch upon some other issues, but let me begin with your question. So funding, as you mentioned, and public-private relationship. What is important? I think in that
Bunun nasıl kullanıldığı olduğunu düşünüyorum. Çünkü ben yeşil enerji
you use the fund that you obtain, because in terms of green energy there are serious amounts of funds in the world, and Turkey has been receiving serious amounts of funds, but this is very much dependent on how you would make use of those financial resources. Actually, this is the main source of the problem, and this is the topic that I want to mention. In my presentation, this is my outline, and this is what I'm saying in all of my presentations, and I'm sure that all of you are experts in this particular field, but I would like to elaborate on the differences between energy conservation and energy efficiency, because very simply, let's say that the room temperature is 23 degrees at to your home, and there's a level of energy that you spend, and when you would drop it down to 21 degrees, then you would be saving on energy, but you want to be warm at 23 degrees. If you would consume less energy, so it means that it's efficient. You're efficient. It's very simple, but I just wanted to remind you of this particular fact. This is the reason why I want to give some simple explanations on it. So I would like to talk about some facts on EU, and 40% of the total energy consumption is by the buildings in Europe. And again, energy renovation is around 1% in Europe and in the members of European Union, and there's a decision by the Commission to increase it up to 2, and as a continuity, there's this concept called deep renovation, and the experts believe that there should be an increase by 3%, and this is how they can hit the 2030 climate energy goals for the EU.
These are English, and I have tried to convert it, to translate it to Turkish, so let me go speak to them.
So there's this concept called deep renovation. It means that energy efficiency can be provided by buildings by 60%, and its share is very low. It's 0.2%. Actually, it's a very striking example from the EU, and 85% of the buildings out of 220 billion buildings, it is said that they are constructed way before, and they will stand still after a certain threshold. Facts about Turkey is a bit different. In terms of the energy spent by the buildings, it's above 30%, which is much more than industry. This is quite striking for Turkey. And in our case, the rate of new buildings is way above the EU, so around 3% of the existing building stock, we have new buildings, and the renovation rate is 2.5, which is above EU average rate. And again, in our country, there's a special concept specific to Turkey, which is urban transformation, and I joined a meeting in the morning about urban transformation, and there is this demolition rate of 1.5%, and the building stock is renovated by 1.5%, and recently 600,000 new houses will be built because of the earthquake, and new buildings have to be constructed instead of the old ones, the collapsed ones. And there's a difference between the EU and Turkey. EU is much more stable in terms of the building stock, and they want to be energy efficient. And for Turkey, we have this transformation, as we call it. In terms of renovation, we transform the buildings, we have new buildings, we replace the buildings with the new ones, and there's a huge change going on. Is that a chance? Is it a mischance? This is the main question. Unfortunately, we do not have adequate number of regulations, and unfortunately the standard has to be C. In order for you to have a settlement permit, you need to be at least in class C. Average for class C is 100 kilowatt hours per square meter, and this is what we see again in Turkey. The insulation standard is dating back to 2008. How many years has passed? I don't know how many years, but every year reports have been prepared, and the public sector is trying to do certain things to renew the situation. Unfortunately, we're still making use of the standards dating back to 2008, and cooling rate cannot be calculated. Unfortunately, this is the picture. There's this new concept for Turkey, nearly zero energy building is a new concept for Turkey. As of January 2023, nearly zero energy building regulation was enacted, and in the descriptions, 100 kilowatt hours per square meters is the description threshold. This is not a clear-cut figure. There's a different calculation system, but in order to save on time, I'm not going to go into the details. The approximate calculations are showing this, and every EU member state has a different description for nearly zero energy building, and the EU average is 50. I think considering Balkans, Croatia has this value of 40, Greece has this value of 53 kilowatt hours per square meter, and there's this different scale, and there are different scales, but these can be accepted as averages for countries. So what should we do? Cost optimal approach can be embraced in order to be cost efficient, and Turkey has to revisit all these items. Why? Because during the fast transformation of buildings, if we fail to construct energy efficient buildings, we will face new challenges in the future. We should not miss this chance. We have an example from Turkey. Actually, this is very specific to Turkey, and this example would show the public-private practice. And Muğla municipality is working with Dalmaçyalı brand, and they have insulated a public building in Muğla province. This is a service building of Muğla municipality. They have insulated the building in collaboration with Dalmaçyalı company. So in winter, they have saved on energy by 50%. In summer, they have saved on energy by 43%, which is quite striking. As an example, this is why I wanted to share it with you. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arkın. This is very interesting to see that there is innovation in it. It is accessible. At the Global Covenant of Mayors, we are working with cities on fostering their climate action planning and energy efficiency planning. And with the GAP Fund, cities are also getting access to technical assistance to transform this kind of projects that you showed for insulation in municipal buildings, for energy efficiency in construction. So there are good practices that we can share with other cities. So thank you so much for your presentation. Now I want to hear from the academia and see what's this other gaze that we can give to this topic. So I'm very pleased to invite Aljaz Plevnik, expert for urban mobility in Slovenia. Mr. Aljaz is a researcher at the Urban Planning Institute of the Republic of Slovenia and has over 27 years of experience in urban mobility research and projects. Most of them has gained as an international, mainly EU context. So his special interest lies in transfer of practice and knowledge on sustainable urban transport from more experienced to less experienced countries, mainly to Central and Eastern Europe. It's very, I think that the power of the network and learning from peers is something that is very, very effective, and I think that the forum today is a proof of that. Aljaz, I wanted to ask you, we know that the Covenant of Mayors is preparing the climate action planning for sustainable mobility projects. So can you talk a little bit about what innovative finance mechanisms for public transport, for walking, cycling, active mobility have you seen implemented both in Slovenia or elsewhere? Can you bring that perspective, please? The floor is yours. Thank you for joining.
So before starting with my presentation, just a short answer to a direct question. So the most successful and the measures with the most impact were those that were cross-financing the internal budget of the cities. So taking money from the part of the transport that we do not wish in our cities, like cars, mainly cars, but partly lorries, freight. So through parking or congestion charge and taking this money, investing it directly to the alternatives to the cars, cycling, public transport. This is probably the most effective and somehow innovative in the last few years.
And
measure.
Fair, I would say.
Yeah. And fair as well, yeah. But I will just bring some short messages in these 8 minutes from work in Central Eastern Europe and Western Balkans. So as we heard from presentations before and what we read, that the climate change is the main driver of many transport policies on the national, EU and the local level. But I'm afraid that the message from Central Eastern Europe and the Western Balkans is that the climate change doesn't have an influence on our decisions in the transport sector. main decisions are somehow lacking this criteria and are driven without thinking about the climate change. That's the reality in our cities, in our countries, in this part of Europe. What we hear a lot and what is quite kind of fancy for our mayors, for our decision makers, is that the technology will solve the problem in the transport, which is one of the most difficult sectors within the climate package. But the research shows that this is not the case. The technology is not an answer, especially not the technology that is linked to the change of the engine in our cars, in our buses, in our lorries. It will take too much time, too much energy. It has other problems linked to it, but it will also not solve the main problems that transport is bringing to our cities. Just imagine Istanbul, the city with so many qualities, but how heavily impacted it is by the traffic. And imagine it, if we change all this traffic to the electric cars, we will only solve part of the problem, air pollution, a bit of the noise, but all the congestion, all the usage of the public space, all the congestion, the loss of time will not be solved. So the movement in the last few years is completely the opposite from what we are looking at in this part of the Europe, linked to the transport policies. It's a change of the paradigm that is happening all around Europe, but not in this part of Europe so far. And this means that we are moving out the cars and the lorries from our cities, and we are trying to replace this mode of transport with other alternatives which are much more rational, logical, energy efficient, etc., etc. So the cities that took this challenge seriously are really pushing cars out and are looking for solutions that make these alternatives that I mentioned more effective, quick, user-friendly, etc. And what we've learned from the last 50, 40 years in Europe is that cities that are facing this challenge have to go through different stages. The stage one is mainly focused on the vehicle movement in our cities, and again, Central Eastern Europe and Western Balkans are focusing on the vehicle movement in our cities. But then the second stage is that cities start to think about the alternatives, that they start to provide solutions that make public transport, cycling, walking more attractive. And then we already see some cities in Europe that are already in the stage 3, when they don't think about the transport separately, but they think it as a part of the city life, as a quality of life element, and they think about public space and these elements of the quality of life first, and then the transport is only a tool for reaching these goals linked to this quality of life. So that's what we are facing, what we are waiting, this move in the perspective, in the paradigm in our cities, and it's a difficult challenge in front of us, but I think there is no other solution than following this path. Just a few examples of what does it mean going from stage 1 to stage 3. The picture from Spain, Vitoria-Gasteiz, shows that the core of this new policy is the reallocation of road space, meaning that cities are taking existing road space and transforming it to the alternatives. It's not about new parking, about new roads, about the flow, about the capacity of roads. It's about reducing this space for cars and replacing it with alternatives. Quite difficult to change in many cities, but that's the reality, and that's very successful. The other package is about reducing the number of parking spaces, which is also kind of a dogma in many cities, because most of the cities are still building the new underground garages. Maybe they transform some on surface parking with the underground parking, but still the number of parking stays the same or is increasing. But the cities which are more advanced are reducing the number of parkings. This is Barcelona, where the numbers fall for 1/3 in a very short period of time. So on-street parking was reduced for 1/3 in a short period of time, and that shows the policy of the city against the cars. And the last package I would like to mention is quite simple, quite cheap, but again very hard to accept from the political side, and that is making driving in the city difficult. We know these so-called circulation plans or super blocks, so there are different names, different approaches, but the core of all these approaches is the same. It make streets the way that people are not fancy to use the car because it's difficult, it takes more time, it takes more effort to do it. This is the picture from city of Leuven in Belgium. They changed the streetscape of these streets quite simply by paint, by new signs in 1 month. And they changed the streetscape in a way that you cannot travel by car directly from one quarter of the city to another, but you have to take the bypass and go around, and this makes the usage of car much more difficult. And overnight, the usage of car fell a lot, and the usage of alternatives, like mainly cycling, rised very significantly. This is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aljaz. So what I'm hearing you saying is that we can use these guidelines, take space from cars, make car payers, car users pay for the active mobility, and make it like a nightmare for the cars. I think that during the pandemic we realized how important are our public spaces, and having our streets to people, having the parks. And I come from São Paulo, which we adore cars in São Paulo. I lived in Mexico City, and I live in London now, so I really appreciate this kind of policies when we have a little bit more space for people. Thank you so much, Aljaz. I want to thank our brilliant panelists now. Please don't go away because we still have a little bit of questions, but I'm going to invite some other experts to comment on the presentations and also bring another perspective. Thank you so much. So we're going to keep our discussion. I want to invite to the stage Ms. Dubravka Bosnjak from GIZ, Jurate Lepardiniene from CPMA, Dr. Ahmet Saatçi from the Academy in Turkey, and Dr. Ahmet Sihat Karamaran. I hope I didn't butcher the names. Just practicing my Turkish, which is non-existent. Thank you so much for joining us, and I think that we have a lot to discuss following the experts. I'm going to start with Dubravka, who is the deputy director for the GIZ regional project manager in the region for GIZ, helping the Global Covenant of Mayors to implement this climate action and energy efficiency plans. Dubravka, thank you so much for joining. Can you talk a little bit more about what are the strategies and partnerships with donors such as GIZ have employed to increase funding for energy transitions projects in the Western Balkans? And also, how can municipalities effective position themselves to attract more of this international international funding? Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the question. I think it is one of the key questions. We know that the energy transition and especially climate actions are expensive, and we know that the energy transition process is a long-term process. We will need a lot of time, a part of that, a lot of resources like human resources, material resources, knowledge, funding, everything. Within GIZ, as we are focused mainly on providing a technical support, we made some analysis before starting this project, and we have learned that although when we talk about the funding and missing funds, we realize that a part of this, our partners are always talking about missing other parts, like missing of the knowledge, missing of the guidelines, missing of the capacities. And this is something what we have learned where we as a GIZ can more provide support, like working with our partners on their capacity building, like working with our partners of transfer of knowledge from one region to another region. And in this context and in the frame of the project, we are now focusing on supporting our partners to learn how to prepare proper project proposals, how to recognize which funding is suitable for them, and how they can improve their skills to attract funds. This is something what we really learned is the most important. Once they have skills, I am not telling that no one is having the skills, but we realize especially small cities are missing these skills, and in the frame of the project we would like to support their capacity development in that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dubravka. The lack of capacity in municipal governments is something that we definitely need to work collaborative to attack. And I want to invite also, apologies, Mr. Kelman Zayazi, also executive director of NALAS, who has been working a lot in building capacity in the Western Balkan municipalities, also to join us, our panel. Thank you, Zayad. I want to invite now Jurate Lepardiniene. She's the Deputy Director for the CPMA, the Center for Project Management Agency in Lithuania, also helping with the implementation of climate action planning in the region. Jurate, what challenges do you think that municipalities in the region are facing in securing the funding for climate projects? We spoke about the lack of capacity. Can you explain a little bit more and how the CPMA and other organizations are supporting the cities in identifying these funding sources? Thank you. Welcome.
Okay, hello everyone. It's really nice to be here and thank you for the question. So, from the CPMA side, we are implementing this project. The project Daiva was announced in the beginning of this session. So, I can give some few tips about how to implement in practical way and how to see the whole picture of the implementation of the projects and starting to the planning. I can say that it's essential to have a proper planning and whatever it could be, the strategic document like CCAP, like a strategy, like mobility strategy, etc. And it is very essential to have this beginning, not to find some sources for financing and then to think what project I can finance, but it's the very beginning should be from the strategy point of view. And the strategy should be entire, and strategy should include all sides of the problems. For example, if it is climate change strategy, you should know what is the real problem is and what is the real cause of a problem is in the region. So, and then you, after the planning, you can do this strategic planning within the municipality, within the region. So, and the second tip is to have a good team for this, to dedicate a team, to speak with the politicians, to speak with the management, and to dedicate the team, to dedicate the roles to the team, because if you do not have the team, motivated team, you cannot start even to plan good projects. So, and the third thing is, of course, to have a space, to have good platforms to continue with the development of competitions, of competences, how to create the real projects and how to develop the projects and how to find the sources and how to find this technical support and then to start with the implementations. So it's from my side this.
Is everyone taking notes? Because this is really the main course, and I think that breaking the silos within the local government and having a more comprehensive approach to when you're applying for funds. Thank you so much, Jurate. I'm going to invite now Professor Dr. Ahmet Saatçi. Do you have you have a presentation, right? Do you have the remote? Professor, can you speak a little bit about how can academic institutions play a role in connecting cities with innovating funding sources for sustainability projects? Yeah, it's harder to hear on the exactly. I wanted to take your role as how the academia can help cities, local governments, in connecting to innovative funding opportunities. How can the academia work with the cities? Great. Do we have the presentation? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah. I'll be talking about energy transition in cities. We have challenges in storing the renewable energies. You don't have wind all the time, and you don't have sunshine all the time. You have cloudy days, and at night you have problems with storing the energy. You can store it using batteries, but they are expensive. So 3 weeks ago, I was in Portugal. We visited the Alcuba floating solar farm. I will try to explain this new system for you. It's a good example of renewable energy storage. Now, cities control energy demand. So the world urban areas accounted for about 64% of global primary energy use. And cities produce 70% of the planet's carbon dioxide emission. And the key drivers of energy transition, we have to know how to diffuse the renewable energy into the energy mix supply. And probably for me, the most important part is how do we store this renewable energy? What are the improvements? So I will talk about solar pumped storage hydroelectricity. Pumped storage hydroelectricity is well known. You can pump the water back to the reservoir and use the water back, but using solar energy to pump it back is something quite new. And I will give examples for this one as Alcuba floating solar farm. So the farm is in Portugal. It covers 12,000 solar panels, and it produces 7.5 million kilowatt hours per year. To understand it, it's enough for 1,500 families. And it doesn't cover very much area. It's, like 6,000 times smaller than the total area of the whole reservoir. When you put these panels, as you see in the picture, in water, you don't incline them very much, maybe 5 degrees or so, because the water is colder, you have more efficiency, plus it helps to reduce the evaporation, which is a big problem with the reservoirs. So they have gained the European Sustainable Energy Award. Solar pumped storage hydroelectricity is done by a reversible turbine generator. And the idea is very simple. You can see the solar panels on the reservoir up. You can see that. And what you do is you pump from the lower reservoir up to the upper reservoir using solar energy. And you can always use the water you have stored back to turn the turbines. And in a way, you are storing the solar energy in terms of water. So the efficiency is very, very high, like 80%, 90%. And I think that's a good example of renewable energy storage. Thank you very much. It's less than 5 minutes.
That was great. That was great. Thank you so much, Professor. I want to invite now our host, and actually I want to thank you for so much and congratulations on the organization of the event. I think that we've been spending 2 incredible days here, and there's more to come tomorrow. Dr. Ahmet Cihat Karaman from the Union of Municipalities, Marmara Municipalities Union. As a municipal association, association of municipalities, how can MMU assist cities in also identifying these opportunities for funding and also developing partnerships? I think that the role of the Association of Municipalities is a connector with other stakeholders. So how can you help cities on this energy transition? Thank you, Fonche.
Thank you very much for good wishes and join us for today and also tomorrow. I am actually Environmental Management Coordinator in the Marmara Municipalities Union. As you know, environment issues is related to the energy transition. It's very close related actually. If you allow me, speaking Turkish will make me feel more comfortable and continue with Turkish. Tekrar teşekkür ederim. Belediyeler Birliği Türkiye'de belediyelerin gönüllü olarak üye olduğu bir organizasyon, bir kamu kurumu. Dolayısıyla yapabileceklerimiz belediyelerin teknik ve bu konudaki kurumsal kapasitelerini arttırmakla aslında çerçeveleyebiliriz yaptıklarımızı. Ancak Türkiye'de belediyelerin enerji geçişini sağlamayı temelde 2 kategoride biz ele almayı uygun buluyoruz. Bütün misyonumuz ve çalışma disiplinimiz de bu yönde aslında. Birincisi kentlerin enerji dönüşümünde doğrudan aktör olduğu bir senaryo. Yani neden söz ediyoruz? Yoğun enerji tüketen sistemler olarak kentleri kurgulamak, işte ilk partta Pedersen de vurgulamıştı atık su arıtma tesislerinin enerji nötralizasyonunu. Birincisi kentlerin tükettiği ve kullandığı enerjiyi minimize etmek ya da bu konuda adil bir geçişi sağlamak üzerinde kentlerin misyonlarının neler olması gerektiğini üzerine çalışıyoruz. Bunlar iklimlendirmeyi yani bölgesel ısıtmayı, bölgesel soğutmayı dekarbonize etmekten başlayıp binaları yenilemek yani retrofit etmek aslında. Ulaşımı düşük emisyonlu bir forma dönüştürmek çok temelde belediyelerin doğrudan işin içerisinde olması gerektiği nokta. Bir de belediyeleri belki daha önemlisi etki gücü olarak değerlendirmek gerekiyor. Çünkü doğrudan yerelde hem kent sakinlerini hem iş dünyasını, ticareti hem de sivil toplum kuruluşlarını doğrudan ortak paydada toplayabilecek bir unsur belediyeler. Dolayısıyla belediyeleri bu unsurları bir araya getirme noktasında aktif bir görev üstlenmesi konusunda teşvik eden bir yapımız var. Dolayısıyla akıllı finansmana ya da etkili fonlara erişmek için neler yapılabilir konusunda müsaadeniz olursa birazcık odaklanmak istiyorum. Birçok konuda Sayın Hocamızın da yer aldığı organizasyonlarda hep şunu vurguluyorduk. Belediyelerin bu enerji geçişine hazır olması için bir takım projeleri hazırda tutması, onlarla ilgili bir hazırlığının olması gerekir. Gerek ulusal gerekse uluslararası fonlarla ilgili bir ajanda, bir takvim yayınlandığı zaman o takvime uygun bir takım projeler geliştirmek çok da faydalı sonuçlar vermiyor. Ancak bir enerji planlamasının, işte Daiva'nın da konuşmasında bahsettiği gibi sürdürülebilir enerji ve iklim eylem planlarının hazırda bulunması, bir takım eylemlerin tanımlı olması belediyelere fona erişme konusunda finansal seçeneklere erişme konusunda oldukça önemli avantajlar sağlayacak. Bir diğer konu hassas bir enerji verimliliği duruşuna, tavrına sahip olması gerekir belediyeler. Çünkü yoğun bir şekilde enerjiyi tüketen, enerjinin tüketimiyle ilgili çok önemli bir noktada bulunan, idari olarak çok önemli bir noktada bulunan bir yapıları var. Dolayısıyla hem dönüşmek hem de dönüştürmekle ilgili sorumluluk alabilirler. Dolayısıyla bunu bir takım yenilenebilir enerji ya da alternatif enerji kaynaklarına yönelip enerji arzını dağıtık bir yapıya kavuşturmak da çok önemli. Ancak birincil önceliğin etkin bir enerji verimliliği politikası olması gerektiği kanaatindeyiz. Yine ilk partta Arkın Bey enerji verimliliğindeki mevcut düzenlemelerin yeterli olmadığından söz etmişti. Bu konuda biz belediyelerin gerektiği zaman merkezi hükümetten daha modern, daha etkili, daha işlevsel bir takım düzenlemeleri talep etmeleri gerektiğini sürekli vurguluyor ve bu konuda da biz yine aynı şekilde kapasite geliştirme faaliyetleri yürütüyoruz belediyelere yönelik. Az önce birazcık değindim. Son vurgulamam gereken konu belki şey olabilir. Enerjinin mevcut merkezi arz durumunu dağıtık bir yapıya kavuşturmak ile yenilenebilir enerji konusunu ele alabilir belediyeler. Çünkü bu noktada çok önemli bir takım kırılganlıklar söz konusu. Dağıtık bir yapıya kavuştuğunuz zaman hem arzın sürdürülebilirliğini sağlamış olabiliriz, hem bir takım fiyat dalgalanmaları ile ilgili önemli bir avantaj sağlamış olabiliriz. Dolayısıyla özellikle Türkiye için konuşmak gerekirse Marmara Belediyeler Birliği olarak önümüzdeki süreçte sürdürülebilir enerji ve iklim eylem planları konusunda belediyelerin mevcut kapasitesini geliştirmeye yönelik çalışmalara ağırlık veriyoruz. Sadece iklim değişikliği eylem planını hayata geçirmek ya da bununla ilgili bir takım planlamalar yapmanın çok yeterli olmadığı kanaatindeyiz. Enerji, yani mitigation bağlamında enerji yönetiminin de çok önemli olduğu kanaatindeyiz. Bu şekilde daha çok teknik ve idari kapasiteleri, kurumsal kapasiteyi artırmaya yönelik faaliyetler sürdürüyoruz. Şu anda yürüttüğümüz, Daiva Hanımlarla beraber yürüttüğümüz EU for Energy Transition projesi de bunlardan bir unsur olarak örnek verilebilir. Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you so much, and very impressive the work that MMU is doing. I'm very glad to learn. We're coming towards the end of our session, but I want to hear also from Nalas, working in the Western Balkans, from Mr. Kelman Zayazi. We heard about lack of capacity. We heard about innovative solutions from Professor Saatçi. We've learned about how cities are building, how cities should bring new guidelines so that we can actually implement these targets to achieve the Paris Agreement, for instance. In the Western Balkans, and working with different associations of municipalities, can you tell us a little bit more about how NALAS is supporting cities in doing this transition and accessing finance for that? Thank you.
Well, I have a very simple answer. So we do it by empowering national local government associations. So our mission is to strengthen associations so that they do all what we are discussing about. And I can proudly say that we cover the whole Southeast Europe geographic area, including the Marmara region, and so this type of events of knowledge exchange is one of the things that our national associations are doing, and the Marmara Union is now showing how this is done in a very high level, the superb level. So I'm saying this with a big pride. Otherwise, so maybe to give some contextual input, because we heard previous panelists, the expert from Slovenia was saying that in the Balkans things are not going very well in this direction. there is a reason why. So first, one of the things that we do is also we monitor the level of decentralization, and we have a fiscal decentralization report that is going every year. So now some fresh information from a report which is still not published, but it's already cooked. Just to have an idea, 5.6% of GDP is the total funding available for local governments in average in Southeast Europe. And this is like half of what other European Union local governments have. They have 11% of GDP in average. And not to mention what is the amount of GDP. So if we compare more precisely the finances per capita, the local governments have available in Southeast Europe 360 euros per inhabitant, and in Western European countries 3,700 euros for a comparable same amount of local government services they have to produce. So it's not a different. So the level of decentralization functional is very similar, but the financing is really our local governments are dried out. Not to mention that over 50% of this funding, it's earmarked. So it's about the fiscal autonomy. I mean, that's another topic. So, in the other hand, we are talking about Covenant of Mayors. The initiative started 2008, and it took NALAS. We were partnering with GIZ since that time. And we were so much enthusiastic. In one of our General Assembly events, 9 municipalities from Moldova, they signed up for Covenant of Mayors at that time, 2009. But it took us almost 2 decades to get the Covenant of Mayors service available for local governments in Southeast Europe. So we are lagging behind. We don't have a lot of financing. And with this lack of finances and lack of exercising these type of projects, it also leads us to another gap, which is human resources. So the local government employees are not capacitated to do it because they haven't done it for a long time. And so the starting point is very low, but we have a very big ambition. So now with the EU for Energy Transition project that we heard about yesterday and today with the panelists, we have big plans to turn it around. And this is why we have gathered here also the directors of our member associations. We just had a meeting before this discussing about our plan. We want to create a help desk for Covenant of Mayors, and we just discussed, so what I'm talking now is very fresh discussion of our members where they see the future of it. But not only that, we also are working in parallel in convincing the donor community, especially EU delegations, to divert these pre-accession funds into more tangible investments. And we have done a pilot project in Albania with the EU delegation, very successful on small investment projects to bring closer, to make accessible project funding to local governments. And so this is another level of lobbying we do with EU delegations and also in Brussels. But to come back to this idea of a help desk of Covenant of Mayors, so all what we discussed here is in the plan that we want to do. First, we need to promote the idea of Covenant of Mayors. We saw yesterday some charts, how small is the number of signatories of Covenant of Mayors. With some exceptions, then Bosnia, Herzegovina and Turkey are going a little bit faster, but the others are really lagging behind. In some countries there are only 3 out of hundreds of local government signatories. So first, to promote it, to have more, to help them develop effective action plans, as we are doing now with the project in pilots. So this help desk should support the others to do. And then, more importantly, to create financing opportunities, to create and also to help local governments to apply effectively for implementation, and very importantly, to also help monitoring the results of their activity so that they remain Covenant of Mayors. Because as you know, if they don't meet the targets, then there is also a reverse process that a city can be out of the group of. And then finally, I want to mention also that we also have an important role in connecting with Global Covenant of Mayors and the European EU Covenant of Mayors office in Brussels, so that we catch up. So we have lost, the region has lost a lot of time, and we need to catch up effectively in learning from the others, from these technological solutions and other experiences that we heard very effectively in this session and the other sessions so this is what we need to do.
Thank you so much, Zayed. Thank you for bringing this silver lining. There is a lot of work to do, but there is also a lot of opportunity to work in this region, and I think the time is also now, so thank you so much for the work that Nalas is also doing. I want to invite back my colleague Daiva to just give us final remarks, and then also to invite the other panelists for a group photo. Thank you.
Is this open? Thank you very much. It is indeed very, very bad, but we always have lack of time. Like how to talk about all topics in 1 hour. It is impossible. It is impossible. But indeed was really very excellent workshop. I learned a lot during this very short 1 hour. Thank you very much, especially from Denmark, Slovenia, Turkey. Examples about water management, about energy efficiency, about collaboration models. And it is really important topics to the energy transition. Thank you very much for all another panelist that we are talking very well and provided very interesting experiences from GIZ side, from Central Project Management Agency, from Marmara University, from Marmara Municipality Union, and from NALAS. It is indeed was incredible journey to listen every of you. But of course, due to lack of time, we will collect all presentations. We will have all material. Please not be hesitate to contact us. We can share all information for you. And finally, what I would like to mention also, thank you, moderation is excellent, from GAP Foundation, GAP Fund of Global Covenant of Mayors. For the continue, I would like to say that during our project EU for Energy Transition in Western Balkans and Turkey, we are continue to develop multi-level governance platform, where we'll bring all together participants like technical consultants, also financial consultants to get more finance for the implementation of the projects. I know that municipalities are always asking me, like, we are preparing CCAPs. How to get fund? Where is money? Where is money? I can see from my side, finance is very huge, very big, for especially climate actions. And here I would like to say you one rule, maybe one advice. Instead to follow money, please follow problems that you can solve in the world, and money will come to you. And here I would like to concentrate on the solutions, on the ideas, on the concurrent table proposals that can be attractive of finance. So çok teşekkürler for your attention, and now time for group photo. Please come here. Thank you, translators. Thank you, photographers. Thank you, all team, Marmara, Municipality Union. You're doing great job. MARUF Forum, I think, is the best example about sustainable future.